Hello, and welcome to another episode of AEC Unplugged. I'm your host, Danielle Gray, and I currently serve as the Director of Content and Knowledge Resources at SMPS HQ. So I am so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining. So I am in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was a little cold outside. And when I say cold, I mean under 60 degrees. So that's just me. That's just me. But let me know where you're joining from in the comments. Let me know. Shout out your SMPS chapter. Let me know where you're joining from, what city you're joining from in the comments. So, look, we're here again, another great episode. We're going to be talking about humanizing technology in AEC. And before we get into this episode, there's a few things that I want to share. So, one is if you've never watched the AEC Unplugged before, what we are about and the whole idea of the unplugged is for it to feel actually the humanizing effect is that we want to focus on the human intelligence. We're talking all this stuff about AI, but HI is important too. So we want you to know the thought leaders. We want you to know who our partners are and how we all can work together in community within the AEC industry. So that's what this is about. And if you want to go back and watch some previous episodes, we have plenty on YouTube. So SMPS HQ YouTube, there's a playlist on there. So be sure to watch AEC Unplugged there. Also, we have some programming coming up. Thank you, Devin. Devin's so great. It's just like she's reading my mind as it's happening. That's our producer, if you don't know. She's in the background. But we have some really great programming that I'm excited to share. Look, we have AEC.ai Masterclass. This is a 4-part series. And I'm so excited about it. We just had our AEC.ai summit in Denver, and we are following up with this awesome masterclass that you can watch from anywhere. You can watch it live, you can watch it on demand. So please be sure to look out for that. We're going to start on November 13th. And then we have a learning lab coming up, redefining our value proposition with knowledge architecture. That's on October 28th. And then we just launched Q4 quarterly insights report. So this is a lengthy report about all the trends that are happening within AI, specifically within AEC. And there is a podcast, AI generated, of course, that you can listen to. So if you're like, hey, this is a big document. What can I do? Let me listen in, and so you can listen to that podcast of the all the things that are going on. So that's really great as well. So that's free for all SMPS members. Also, we have a on October 30th. We have "Wake Me When It's Over: Why So Many Presentations Suck and Yours Don't Have to." So this is really big and specifically catered to our business development audience, but also for everyone that is doing presentations, period, and doing meetings and all of that stuff. Presenting is important, and this is going to be a great session. That's October 30th. And then we have a learning lab November 19th. This is going to talk about the client experience with the SMPS Foundation. Some of you know about this, the report that's gone out. There's a lot of great conversations about it. So again, free for SMPS members. You can join in November 19th. And then we have driving CRM adoption in AEC. That's going to be from Project Mark. That's on November 18th. So we've got a lot of online learning. This is just a couple of things, and there's a lot coming down. Is there something else here too? Oh, great. Yes. Call for proposals. Amplify AEC. I know it just ended in August, but it's coming back in July in Vegas. So be sure if you're a thought leader and want to share, go ahead and put out your submit for our call for proposals. We want to hear what you have to say, and maybe you can share with our audience of almost 1,000 people. So we're really excited to share that opportunity for the call for proposals. All right, enough of that. I had to do my promotion. I'm in marketing. That's what we do. Okay, so anyway, it is time to get into our episode and invite my two guests here today. We are talking about humanizing technology in AEC, and who we have here today is from Unanet. So we have Dianna Lovelace and Christina Gilson. Welcome to AEC Unplugged. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So one thing that I've been doing, kind of a tradition in AEC Unplugged, is to talk about how you got into AEC. I find that no one, I guess, really was sitting thinking about as a 6-year-old, thinking about and dreaming of being in the AEC industry. So I'm really interested and always interested in hearing, how did you get here? So Christina, I want to start with you. How did you find your way into AEC?
Thanks for asking. It's great to see you, Danielle and
Yeah.
Dianna. So I started as receptionist at an environmental firm in Seattle. I got laid off during a recession, and then they hired me back as a half marketing assistant, half accounting assistant, because I showed real curiosity while I was a receptionist about how everything worked, and they were like, "Aha, you have the great qualities." So that's how I found AEC marketing and SMPS. I took the Marketing 101 class with Carla Thompson and Gina Bedoya back in the
Yeah.
day,
Nice.
which was it's just like a foundation for my whole career. So I quickly realized that on the marketing side, I was spending all this time chasing down data. We did tons of government work, private agencies, federal, all the things. So we already had all that data on the accounting side where I was doing the job setup. So it led me to create an in-house marketing database that really evolved over time. I discovered that I loved creating systems that connected people, saved time, and made data actually useful. Marketing, AEC marketing, like pull together everything I love. Um, Design, writing, the natural environment. I live in the Northwest. The built environment, architecture, and urban planning, solving impossible challenges, right? Which I discovered also had a real passion for, and aligning details towards solving a bigger goal, right? So all of these things I discovered along the way. That's what led me to the firm Essential, which eventually became Unanet. And I've done all the different roles here, but really focusing on helping firms organize chaos, see patterns, and use information to win work because I love winning. This is how Dianna and I connected. She had a lot of great ideas as a client consultant, and so I lured her over to our startup a couple decades ago, and we've been solving problems and talking ever since.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Diana, you were brought in by Christina. Is that basically what
That
happened?
it is. That's how I made my way to the software world, right? The AEC industry. I actually started in HR. I was a proposal specialist for a very large HR firm and made a cross country move and landed into the engineering architect world. And interestingly enough, I was a marketing coordinator and went on maternity leave, came back, and they said, "Hey, we need you to, while you're here, before you get back into marketing, why don't you do this?" And I implemented a database, a marketing database like Christina's talking about, and realized that that really was my passion as well. Being the detail-oriented person and the creativity that marketing let me have, I was able to take that experience as a user on that side of the world and bring it to the software side and the engineering the software programs and tools that we would then be working. It was really interesting. I didn't come for the technology, right, when I came into AEC, but that's where it led me. It led me to the technology. And like you said, and even my son's high school counselor said, "What did you do in your world to get you to where you're at today? What did you do to prepare for it?" And Christina and I were just talking about this too. I really didn't do anything specific other than be curious, be detail oriented, and love to solve problems.
Oh,
Right? Same thing.
that's so good. So good. And I was gonna speak about that because clearly I am so curious. We could dive deep into that because I think just following your passion, following and being open to move throughout your career, I think is just really very inspiring actually to see where it goes and being open and curious. So thank you both for sharing. That's like how we start our humanizing, right? I want to know more about you. So
Absolutely.
let's get into the humanizing technology piece. So what does humanizing technology mean to you in the context of the AEC industry, Diana?
Yeah, I think that that's such a good question. And technology should feel like a partner to you in what you're doing, not another task or another chore that you have to do, right? And I feel like we all struggle with that. We really need to make sure that whether it's a system, a process, whatever it is that we're doing, that we're respecting how people actually work and what their problems are that they're trying to solve, right? So we need to make sure that we're not forcing the behavior change, but that we're removing barriers to actually getting things done. And in AEC, combining that in with software, that's going to mean less clicking, more connecting. Tools that anticipate what the users need and fit naturally into their day. Things that are going to make data entry and reporting feel more effortless. When technology starts to disappear into the background, people can focus on the relationships and creativity that are actually driving their projects forward. When I'm thinking about that and some of the things that I have calls tomorrow on this topic with our specific product, I think about, gee, wouldn't it be great if I could just pick up my phone and say, hey, I need to add a new pursuit that I need to track and chase, and have a conversation with a GPT or an agentic bot to get that information, that detail into the system, instead of somebody having to sit down and put fingers on keyboard, right, and start typing something, and removing that barrier from just getting that little piece of information. Because in reality, the rest of technology and AI that we were just chatting about can't do those wonderful things that we know it can help us do and give us that time to be more strategic if we're still spending our time putting fingers on keyboard and worrying about how we actually get the data, right? We have to have the data before we can do all those other wonderful things. And so doing what we can to just remove that barrier and improve that user experience, I think, is really where we can humanize technology.
Yeah, I mean, user experience is huge. Christina, do you have anything to chime in there?
Yeah, I just want to chime in. One of the things that's been really interesting about being in the software world and seeing how that evolves is good software design really starts with the user experience. What is the problem that we're trying to solve? It's easy when you're a problem solver, like so many of us are, to jump into the here's how we could do it and the solutioning part. And I've learned through our leadership, especially, it is really important to focus on that. What are you actually trying to do, understand, and solve? And that you can't shortcut that process at all. Similar to when I did proposals and I would talk to my technical staff and be like, okay, you wrote me this whole thing. Tell me why it matters. tell me what your
Why is
takeaway
it
is so that I
important?
can convey the message. And that's a really, really useful starting point for all of our endeavors. It's easy to lose sight. One of the things that one of our leaders does that's a software way is that asking the 5 whys, right? When you have that story, ask why, but ask why again, right? Don't be afraid to dig deep.
Yep.
This can be applied to a few things, I think, but we're going to focus on the technology part. But why? I think that's so interesting. So, Christine, I want to continue on here. Is where do you see technology truly helping AEC teams today, and where is it still getting in the way?
Well, obviously AI,
Mhm.
right? But really the bigger picture, a lot of my work and during my time at Unanet has been focused on connecting systems. So enterprise resource planning, aka accounting, right? Or your financial system and your CRM, your customer relationship management and or marketing database. So it's a passion of mine. There's so much progress now with technology where it's really uniting disconnected teams. So all those systems can now really talk to each other in more modern ways that are not convoluted. It really helps all those different user groups, those teams, see their full picture of what we've got going on, how it relates to our backlog, how much capacity we have, really being able to see that full picture. Of course, the real challenge is, and the power of that is also a real source of friction, because that core data, people are different people in our firms can use the same piece of data and think of it so differently, and it can be very basic concepts like what's a repeat client? Is it we worked with them in the last 3 years, the last 5 years? This is where one of the challenges I had starting out in this is I wasn't super technology savvy, and I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was talking about. So I was more hesitant to ask questions, but I've realized it actually really shows your expertise when you ask questions about
Yeah.
what can be core concepts because people think of it so differently in their different roles in a firm.
Thank you for saying that, Christina. I think all those that are watching, be encouraged to ask questions. I think that's so important to understand. So, speaking of those people, I just want to do a quick shout out. We have people from Austin, Texas, San Diego, Philadelphia, and Sugar Land, Texas. So, thank you all for joining. This is always just really, really fun. So, we are going to continue. I think we'll have Dianna jump back on here when she can. So let's go into let's see. We have
I
how
can talk about our next point,
okay, all
right?
right, let's do that. So how are AI oh there we have
There she
Diana.
is.
There she is. Okay, so how are AI look, it was like nothing happened. We're right here, right in time. So the next question I have is how are AI and automation changing the daily experience of marketing and business development professionals? Diana, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I really think that AI, they're starting to give time back to teams, right? So instead of spending hours typing up call notes, reformatting spreadsheets, automating things, automation can capture and organize the information for you. That means that your marketers, seller doers, business developers can shift. You all can shift your energy. And I've been talking about this for years, right? How do we go from hunter gatherers to strategic partners? I feel like this is one more progression for us as AI jumped onto the screen. We know it's been around for decades, but it really came out with a huge glow up in the last year and a half, right? And I feel like it's pushing us to that next level, going from hunter gatherers to strategic partners. I think that is where it's providing the most innovation and the biggest help for marketing and BD professionals. Taking away the mundane, automating the mundane things so that you can spend your time being more strategic and more tactical, right? If you think about that, you're being able to craft your message, nurturing relationships, making better go, no-go decisions with confidence. So it's not replacing your judgment, it's amplifying it. And I think that's really important as we continue to move forward into different AI features and tools that we're all adopting. What it should be doing is freeing you up to be more human at work, to be able to use those things that our minds were meant to do, strategize, nurture, grow relationships, and not just hunt for things, right? And pull things together.
I love that. I love that. So the next question I have here is about some examples. It's easy to talk about certain things, but I'm really interested in the different examples you all have. Are not easy. First of all, you guys know what you're talking about, but you know what I mean. Can you share an example where technology actually made someone's work easier, more human, or more meaningful?
Yeah.
I'm sure
There
I'm
are.
sure there's a few. But what comes to mind when you think about how to make?
Yeah, there's a couple recently. Christina talked about having that. Oh, I'm going to build a marketing database so I can store all of this content. So I have it. It's easier to get to. When I first joined and came into the world with the marketing databases way back 2006. And the world was making that shift. I remember having those types of conversations with clients a lot around, you don't have to go out and find things and search for it and make sure that it's all accurate and consistent. It's always there. It's always good to help you keep moving forward. I feel like a really good example here is taking all of that content that you have in a database. A database is a database, right? It's storing your information for you. It's time to take it to that next level. How can it help me find meaningful information from all of this data that I have? So one of those recent examples for me, we had a client, a large construction client, who spent and I know y'all can relate to this because I used to have to do it, right? Every month it was time for the executive meeting, to the monthly review, or maybe it was a quarterly thing or the end of year thing. And I wasn't in the financial group. I was in the marketing and business development side, but I had to pull together, okay, what did we do? What do our numbers look like? What is everything looking like? And bringing all of that information and data together and spending hours trying to look at that. So imagine now you have your database of all your information. You could build out dashboards with a BI tool. You can build out dashboards within whatever tool you might be having and go from spending hours manually building reports for your leadership team as opposed to automating things and being able to save time. We were able to do this with one of our larger construction clients so that rather than looking at a spreadsheet of information, right, they're able to visualize that data, sparking more conversations. So instead of being in the position of debating whether or not your data is accurate, teams were able to start talking about strategy. And again, making that shift from reporting to reflecting. That, I think, again, is where technology really helps helps all of that become more human.
Oh, I love that. Christina, did you
And
have
we
a
were talking about, Dianna, one of the things is there's so much time savings, same with the, being able to, Edward Tufte, who talks a lot about data visualization, talks about using data to frame a discussion correctly. And he gives a whole example about the shuttle, the Challenger failure, and he shows the visual that they looked at when they were making the decision to launch, ill-fated.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't show them the right data. They made that decision. So what happened is they just started swapping anecdotes about, oh, remember when we launched on that day? That was fine, right? Which reminds me of like a go, no go decision. Without framing the discussion correctly, your, leaders like, remember we went after that thing and we were just going to put our name out and we won it. It really can help us have the right discussions as opposed to just swapping our feelings, which are great and important and what we're talking about, but it's both that we want together.
It does. And I think that that's just as important as you having the right content in front of you so that you're having the right dialogue. So it's not just about being able to create the visuals and see that there. It's about sparking that dialogue, providing insight and sparking the dialogue so that you are talking about the right things.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this on one of our episodes. The importance of both. Like, we're not taking away the gut feelings, that part, because we do need that, but also having data, correct data, to help you inform and make the right decisions, and guide the dialogue is really important too. So I think that's really important. Thank you for making that point. And I also want to say hey to the folks in Dallas and Hopkinton, Massachusetts. I have not been there, but hey, from Atlanta, thank you so much for joining. So I have another question here as we continue to flow into this episode. What does the future of human-centered technology and AEC look like, and what excites you most about it, Dianna?
I think it's so funny because the answers we just gave Christina lead right into what I want to say on this topic, which is the future of AEC tech is not about dashboards. And I just talked about, and it's great, we helped them build this dashboard so they could have the right conversation, but it's more about the dialogue between people and their tools, right? Making sure that everything is functioning. You had mentioned about integrations, and yeah, it's great to have the tools connected, but are they connected correctly and giving us still good, solid, valid information that we can do something with? Having them connected is just part one. Being able to do something with that is the next part. So I'm really excited about what's called agentic systems. Which is technology that's working with you, right? As I mentioned earlier, imagine saying, hey, show me all my open pursuits with a high win probability, and the system just brings it up. Or a tool that notices you haven't updated a pursuit in several weeks. Or I remember when I first implemented Cosential at the last firm I was with, I had one widget up that was my wall of shame, and it was all of the pursuits that had been submitted more than 6 weeks ago, but we're still in a pending stage, and it listed like the PM's name, like they never got back to marketing to let us know. So imagine if AI could do that for you as well, right? Just, hey, by the way, you haven't touched these or looked at these in the last 3 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever that is, to give you a call for action, right? So things like that are just going to help you. I think it's conversational, predictive, and proactive. That, I think, is where tech is really going to support our users more and help keep moving us forward and keep that human piece in there. I was speaking with one of our clients the other day, and she had a demo of one of our products. And unfortunately, somebody in that demo had said, oh yeah, you're not going to need your marketing coordinators anymore with this. I'm like, that's not true. That's not what any of the tools are about. Right. They are here to help, as we said, help you go from hunter-gatherers to strategic partners, right? So that you're not spending all of your time with the mundane. You're able to spend more time being strategic and having those conversations and do the things you enjoy, and leave those other things that feel like one more drudgery you have to get done. Leave that for AI to deal with, and just make my life better and let me do the things I enjoy.
I think that's so good, because I think that we have to I was going somewhere with that. But the idea was like, it came and went. We're live. I was so into it, Diana. I promise I was there. And then it just disappeared. So this is anyway. There were several things that I thought was interesting about just making sure that everything goes together, and it was just talking about that's what it was about how the marketing coordinators are changing. That is
Right.
changing. The job role is changing as we go because of these new tools and the technology. So they're not having to do the X's and O's, that they can really get into strategy. And that's what I'm really excited about for AEC marketing and business development, is that, we can mature, we can change, and not even mature, just change and do different things, that we are actually good at, that creativity and all the other things. So that's exciting. And one other note, I was also the implementer of CoCentral at my design build firm. So that's just really fun. We have that in common. That was a couple of years ago, but it was fun. It was fun, I say, in all the different ways, right? So, oh, go ahead, Diana.
I was just going to say, I think was it last year, year before last, I think that SMPS was celebrating their 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
And we sit back
Yeah.
and we think about why SMPS came into being. It's because marketers and business developers in this realm needed to be seen as more than an admin, needed to be seen as a strategic partner. And it's sad, I'm going to get teary here, but 50 years, and here we are, where we're talking about technology has gotten us to the point where we are able to focus on becoming more of a strategic partner and to have those higher level conversations with our executive teams, with our technical teams, and not just be helping them with the thought that they have of helping them get something out the door and make them realize that we're here to be your strategic partner and we have the capabilities to do that.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. Go ahead, Christina.
And that's the thing that's really going to make a difference. Like we were talking about at PRC this year, a speaker was talking about like everybody got AI, everybody's up to here, right? And now the competition's really fierce. People are losing by 1 point. Like that is where all of our our human creativity needs to come in, is the really what sets us apart, right? Like, and how can it be really that relationship and a
Yeah.
real differentiator and something that we really, really want to do to get past this fierce competition.
Yeah.
I love that. So we're getting to the end here, and I'm just curious if any, last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience. Diana, I'll start with you, and then Christina.
I would say whatever it is that you're going after and you're doing, or you're thinking about bringing in more tech, start small. Stay curious, like Christina said, ask why. Always ask why. I know that sometimes people get frustrated with me within Unanet because I'm always, why? Why are we doing this? That doesn't seem like it's the way we should be going. Why are we doing that? It's not because I don't like change, right? I just truly want to understand so that I can be on board and be an evangelizer, right, for it and keep us moving forward. Always bring your people along. Don't forget about your people. Humanizing technology isn't a one-time thing, just like implementing a software, right? Bringing Unanet in, or CoCentral, as we mentioned, or whatever tool you might be using. It's not a one and done. It's a living, breathing thing that needs somebody to keep it moving forward and to keep doing the new things with it. It's a mindset, right? Mm-hmm. Ask your teams where they feel friction and solve that problem. The right technology is going to naturally follow with what you do. When you start with empathy, you're going to find the right stuff.
And I would chime in on that empathy, right? It can be easy when you're a database administrator or you're running a system to feel frustrated. Why don't they follow this? Right?
Just want
why
that
is
data.
my stuff not here? But when you lead with the empathy, right? Like, okay, they must be super swamped. How can I help? How can I help my colleagues? And also the thing that I'm doing, how can I help maybe other departments? Like, how can we solve a lot of people's problems? When you assume the best, people want to help. Nobody's not doing this because they don't want to help our team or help our cause. Like, that comes from a better place of that, okay, let's be creative, curious, empathetic so that we can all work together. And the other thing is, because people are pulled in so many directions, that's where that loop of showing why it matters, the success, and tying it in. Here's why we won this thing. Here's why this data helped. Here's how your efforts really built this thing that we all can rely on. And here's what we're using it for. That's that closing that loop really creates that teamwork where people come into your office and start volunteering information that marketing might like to have, which the day that happened, I almost fell over. I was like, wow, this has never happened, and I'm super excited.
And I think that's a really good point. Tell them why you need something. If you're implementing a process or a new tool or whatever it is. I remember when I did implement the databases at the last firm I was with, one of the things I built out was a document, and it was a data entry guide. And every field that I wanted something, I told them exactly why I wanted it and where they were going to see it later. You're going to see it on these dashboards. You're going to use it in a proposal. You're going to use it in an SF330. This is where this information is going to come back around and help you. It's that what's in it for me, right? So tell people why they need to give you something and make sure you're listening to where their pain points are.
That is great. Thank you both so much for joining, Dianna and Christina. Great conversation about humanizing technology. Thank you so much. All right, look, that's another episode of AEC Unplugged. What a great conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I want to remind you, we have some great programming coming up. That we have an AEC.ai masterclass. This is a webinar series. You can watch it live. You can watch it on demand. So just register for all of it. You can do it as you will. Okay, so make sure to join in. It begins November 13th and will flow throughout the month of November. We have a upcoming learning lab on redefining our value proposition, October 28th. We also have our AI Insights report. That's for Q4. That's available and free to all SMPS members. Special thanks to the SMPS Foundation for that. And then we have a upcoming webinar about presentation skills, Wake Me Up When It's Over, October 30th. We have another learning lab free to SMPS members from Insight to Impact about the client experience from the Foundation and Client Savvy. And then driving CRM adoption into AEC. So that's November 18th, another learning lab that is free for members. And a call for proposals. And I also want to note that these awesome women that I talked to you today, they are also having a learning lab that's coming up in December. We shared all the things that were happening in November, but December 2nd, just make sure to save that date. Christina and Dianna are coming back to provide a learning lab that's available to all SMPS members that will be live in a webinar coming soon. So with that said, thank you so much for joining. It's been another great episode. I continue to learn and have great conversations here. I hope you enjoyed as well. And thank you for everyone from tuning in. And if you don't already, make sure to connect with each other underneath in the comments. That's what all of this is about. So I will see you next time for AEC Unplugged. Have an awesome day and the rest of the week. Bye-bye.